We're here for another episode of EV Obsession.
That's right. I'm your host, Joe Borras, here with your other host, Clean Technica CEO, Zachary Shahan. And yesterday we got a little pessimistic. We were looking at some disturbing figures in the auto loan segment, some really high payments, high interest rates. But today, I think we're going to kick it off positive, going right into the EV sales reports. Zachary, take it away.
Yeah, we've got a lot of positive stories today. Again, sort of a case of like, oh, we might not have enough for a show. Oh, wait, we have too much for a show.
Yeah, way too much.
So here we go. Norway EV sales report is out for last month, and it's up at 91.3% plug-in vehicles.
Wow.
Yeah, and full electrics are up at 84.2%. Just it's basically a fully mature market. I mean, you can say it could get to 100%, but it's just details at this point.
Right. It's like layovers. You've got a little bit of petrol and diesel guys, and these are probably, I think if we really went to explore it, you'd have some Porsche 911, some things like that are just such a small segment of the market that it doesn't really matter.
We didn't talk about this before. We didn't even really look at it. The models, of course, Model Y is number one, as it's been almost everywhere all the time. But number two is the Toyota BZ4Bi that you did not like at all, and I didn't like from a distance. But
it's not for me. It's for someone else, and apparently that guy's Norwegian.
Apparently, I think, I mean, the thing that comes to mind here is they've been starved of Toyota options and they've bought everything else. So they're like, oh, let's try the Toyota. Right?
I think that's fair. I mean, that's the hot new kid on the block. I think a lot of people might have been waiting for it. We talked about yesterday, we talked a little bit about Toyota and the reputation that they have. I think the well-earned reputation that they have for quality. I think there's a whole lot of people who are very loyal to the Toyota brand who have been eagerly anticipating a true BEV from Toyota. And now they have one, and 5-passenger mid-size crossover SUV. It meets their needs. They're going to be excited to get their hands on it.
And the one thing I love about this list is this is the trailing 12 months list. The ID Buzz, Volkswagen ID Buzz, which I love, is number 6. So I'm just like, vindicated, validated. The ID Buzz is popular, like I said, for about 8 years. I remember talking to a Volkswagen executive at a conference I was presenting at in Amsterdam, and he was like, yeah, but will it really sell? Like, I was like, oh, we're so excited for this. Yeah, but yeah, we having this discussion. We can't really gauge how much we think it will actually sell, how many people actually buy it. And I was like, oh, come on, people are going to buy this thing. And I'm happy to see Norway proving the point well. I don't know about the rest of the world, we'll see, but looking good there. And also, I'm happy to see that Ariya, they're number 8. Nissan kind of coming to life with its, although the Leaf is still in the top 10 somehow. That's wild. How is it? How is the Leaf?
Who is out there buying these things?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
when I read about like 50% of these EV owners surveyed said that they would buy an internal combustion car next, I'm like, take out all the Leaf drivers, all the Hyundai, all the Kia Soul EV drivers, and all the early generation, Mitsubishi iMEV drivers, and see how many people are left, because that's who is having a horrible time right now, is people who are buying a Leaf.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I mean, they were the leading market for EVs. Maybe there were just a number of people that were just quite happy with their Leafs, and so they get the next generation. I mean, that's the only thing I can think. Only thing that makes sense to me.
God bless them.
Moving to Sweden, which I think is the second best market. Maybe Iceland beats it, but Iceland is tiny. But I mean, it's far behind Norway, but still 60.6% market share for plug-in vehicles, 37.6% for BEVs. That's a really impressive market as well. I know compared to Norway, it's not impressive, but come on, you can't compare yourself to Norway.
Okay.
And
fair enough.
If you look at the top sellers in October, the ID4, actually the Model Y is down at 5th. Rare to see that. The ID4 is number 1. The Volvo, of course, it's Sweden, XC40 number 2. Skoda Enyaq holds its own in market after market. So it's and the BYD Atto 3, you know, up there in that market, number 7. So just, it's just interesting. It's so fascinating to me to look at the breakdowns in different markets.
You know, I looking at this, again, the Leaf is doing much better than it should be. You know, looking at this, I think it's very exciting. I think should be very encouraging for Volkswagen to be outperforming the Swedes in Sweden. But when you look at that dip in the Tesla, or maybe not dip, but when you look at the fact that the Tesla is not doing as well as some others in Sweden, Sweden is very conscious of progressive attitudes. They are a very progressive people. I think even some of the most conservative Swedes politically would be considered like ultra left wing liberals here in the US. I wonder, as I look at this, how much of this is, wow, these other vehicles are better and these other vehicles are being sold and marketed properly instead of just kind of winging it on hype, and how much of this is a response to Elon's, let's say, continued controversy.
And I'm sure that a lot of Tesla fans would say it's allocation issue. Other countries are getting them instead. I don't really know. Nobody ever really knows if when that's the case in Europe, except by looking at different markets and seeing, oh, there's a huge boom in their sales in Germany or something.
Sure.
But we don't not aware of that. For the trailing 12 months, the Model Y is the far and away leader. The ID4 is clearly second, far ahead of anyone else. So it could be a sign of trends in the market where people are moving away from the Model Y. This is the first signs of it we're seeing of that. Or it could be just an allocation issue this month. Interesting, on the trailing 12 months, we don't have it, but on the October list, you have that Aura Funky Cat, which we were quite pleased with. We really enjoy. So
that's everybody's favorite car.
Yeah, I know exactly how
it's everybody's favorite car.
Yeah, and anyone who says otherwise is lying to you.
They either, if that's not their favorite car, first of all, it is. But they're like, these are the guys who are like, EVs aren't for real men, you know, like this toxic masculinity dudes.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I bought it for my wife, but like, yeah, I'll drive it to the grocery store every once in a while. You know what I mean?
I only drive it because I'm saving miles.
Right.
Try not to put miles on my.
I don't want to put miles on my Challenger.
Yeah, so it is there on the list. I'm very curious to see if it climbs up the list, but it's a great balanced market. Of course, it's Sweden, so you have heavy interest in Volvos and Volkswagens and German brands, but Polestars on it. But yeah, looking good. And ID4, congrats to the ID4 for getting number 1 there. See what happens. There's not a lot to say about this, but the new Tesla Model 3 Highland is now being shipped in volume to Europe. There's reports of this, so it's going to hit those sales charts here soon, and we'll see what that does with Model 3 sales, which have lagged for a while with due to the Model Y becoming the far and away leader, and we'll also see if it has any impact on the Model Y sales. But yep,
there you go.
That's the story. But somebody thinks they are ready to beat Tesla at the core game
on a technology,
battery center, but that battery heart of vehicles. We'll get to that in a second, the statement, but we have a kind of exclusive. Our partners in Poland, running the biggest EV site there, they confirmed with Martin Schuster, head of battery cell development at BMW, that new class vehicles in 2025 will be using LFP batteries. And as far as they and we are aware, no one else has confirmed this. Don't even see really discussion of it, but these are cheaper. I mean, generally cheaper, less energy dense batteries that 10 years ago, like only BYD was using in the E6, and it was horrible. And it was like, oh, no one's ever going to use that. Then everyone started using them. We wrote about how Tesla would start using them, and they did. And then they use them in great volume in China and ship with lower range Model 3 shipped to Europe. So it seems like BMW is going to use these cheaper, slightly less energy dense LFP battery cells in new class vehicles, and we're sort of breaking the news there.
Yay, we're so good.
And you had a good comment on this, because you
Yeah,
look at the new class and it's like, oh wow, the shiny new BMW. When do we get it?
I think it's going to China. And they've already said that the Neue Klasse was, designed for kind of untraditional markets, which again, China. They're building it to a price point, which again, China, where the hot EV price wars are. And if it does well enough over there, we might see it here. But I would expect that China will see the first of these vehicles soon. It's going to be a cylindrical battery, like we have discussed for the last year or so. It's going to be like a 4690 or 4896 or 4696 and 46120, I believe, are the dimensions on the cylindrical cells. So yeah, I think this will be in China. I don't know that this will affect us here in the States, at least not for a while.
And I know you were skeptical of this this news when I was sharing it, and I was also a bit. But so they say the site is Wysokie Napięcie. It's a very popular site in Poland. They say they first heard this from Martin Schuster, head of battery cell development at BMW, and they personally confirmed it with Milan Nedeljkovic, member of the board of management of BMW AG. So that's the story. We're sticking to it. I think it's fascinating because
46,120.
It's not necessarily seen as like the future of batteries, but at the same time, it's been winning the past few years more than anything else. So it's a kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to describe what's happening in the battery space, where it's like everyone wants to hype up solid state batteries and sodium ion and different things that might come down the road, and they want to be like have the fastest charging, the most energy dense. But then it's LFP that wins on costs, and LFP has gotten good enough that it wins on costs and it wins on the market. And it's like, and so it's like you're not revolutionizing anything going with LFP batteries, but you're positioning yourself to win a lot more sales, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. But I think also, we had a couple of days ago, I can't remember the name of the company, but you had a podcast with one of these guys that's working on battery efficiency. And they're not talking about 10 and 15% better efficiency. They're talking about 2 and 3 times better efficiency. So if you have the cost advantage of an LFP and you're able to extract this kind of next level energy efficiency out of it, how could it not win?
Yeah.
I mean, do we really need 700-mile EVs?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's overkill for most buyers. Well, so
call that the Tesla Bladderbuster edition.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this story you found as well.
Yeah, this is interesting. So this came out of a statement from BMW Group. They think that their Gen 6 batteries, which I don't see in there, are LFPs, but their Gen 6 batteries are superior to Tesla's batteries, Tesla Panasonic, right? So they're saying, and you highlighted it perfectly, Tesla needs to close the gap with us. We don't see a gap to Tesla. And I think that's some pretty bold statement coming from an automaker that was not fully committed to EVs as recently as 5 years ago, right? They were one of the holdouts along with Toyota that were saying, EVs may not be the way to go. So to see them take this kind of position and take this bold initiative to come out and say, our batteries are just as good, if not better than Tesla. The next thing would be that their charging system was better than Tesla's, except for the fact that they're using Tesla's chargers.
Them's fighting words, Joe. Them's fighting words.
I mean BMW's logo is a propeller of a warplane. The blue and white is literally supposed to be the propeller of the warplane, because they got started off building engines for the German Air Force. So I'm pretty sure they're used to combative statements.
This is the deep history we rely on with you, Joe. So it's a big statement. Again, we looked through this. We didn't find any mention of LFP. They are indicating that these Gen 6 batteries will be in the first new class model expected to be produced in July 2025 in Hungary. Again, this is like it's not the first thing we would think looking at this and thinking Gen 6 batteries that they're LFP, but it can make a lot of sense for being competitive. And it's production at a plant in Hungary, not that far. I mean, this is the European region. I think they were at a conference with these guys, which is where I think this was confirmed by our friends in Poland. So they were at a conference just recently together. So yeah, that's the story. So they think they've got a battery to compete with Tesla, or I should say that's better than what Tesla's got. And we think it's LFP batteries again. So
yeah,
that's it. So as you highlight, it's probably more for the Chinese market.
Right.
And so in the Chinese market, there's this cutthroat price war going on, and you better be finding the cheapest batteries if you want to survive in the Chinese market, which is the largest. It accounts for more than half of plug-in vehicle sales globally. So I mean,
that's crazy.
It's where you go to sell EVs.
That's crazy town, dude.
And this is the little bugger that dominated the market for a year or two.
That's right. The Wuling Mini. This is such a fun little car. I don't remember if it was euros or dollars, but it's like a $6,000 little tiny neighborhood runabout. You can put 2 people in it. You can put a couple of groceries in there. You can put your backpack, drive this thing to school. I would love to have one of these to drive around Oak Park, to drive around downtown Chicago, low speed kind of stuff. I'm not going to take this thing on a highway road trip. This is just a tool around town, and it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunning how much it dominated the extremely hot, extremely popular, extremely competitive Chinese market. And by dominated, I should say, it's not like it accounted for most of the sales. It just led the charts. It led the sales charts for a long time. And I mean, that's good enough. I mean, it's just one model. And as Jose Pontes, who does our China EV sales reports, I think the best China EV sales reports in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jose does tremendous work.
He has a lot of sources that he developed over years, and he said they created their own market. They created their own market with this vehicle, and now there are competitors. So its sales have dropped a bit. So it's no longer leading the market because there are like the Aura, some cute other options, low cost.
The Aura Funky Cat.
Yeah, the great city options. And so this third generation is trying to revive it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had the choice between this and an Aura Funky Cat, you'd get the Aura Funky Cat.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this 100%. Is cute, but I don't love it. Like, I like the interior. I think that's fun. But it's more young female buyers that have been buying these cars. So I'm not the perfect demographic, being an old male.
Being an old white guy.
Old white guy.
Yeah, as opposed to a young Chinese girl, the old white Irish guy ain't gonna do it.
As we said, the Aura is everyone's favorite. So I think this has dropped. I think it's now 5th on the Chinese market. So
which is still huge.
It's still huge. It's amazing. I don't know why they're not all buying the Aura, especially when we've already confirmed that everyone's favorite car is the Aura. So something's wrong in our data.
So I was gonna say, I know what today's graphic is gonna be. Aura Funky Cat, everyone's favorite car.
Which is not even on the show.
Okay. Not even on the show. It doesn't need to be on the show. It's still our favorite.
So there's the China price war going on. And then in Europe, they're also getting more and more affordable, competitive electric cars. This Citroen E3 update is coming in at 23,000 euros, or further down, there's mention of a version that's right below 20,000 euros. That's competitive.
That's competitive, yeah. And I look at this, and every time that we start talking about Citroens and Peugeots and things like that, I have to look at it from the corporate view of Stellantis, right? Because we now have the Dodge Hornet, which is a compact SUV that is a stripped down version of the Alfa Romeo, and it is so like the Alfa Romeo, except it's decontented and it has like some different stitching in the seats. But even that is like, looks pretty much the same to me, dude. So you start to look at these from the context of what can we get in North America. This to me seems like a perfect little Dodge Neon, Dodge Dart type successor. This is something that could slot in underneath the Hornet, I think, and could be a fun little car, an entry level vehicle of the kind that we don't really have in the US anymore. And you know, even if you marked it up a little bit, it was $29,995. I think that would make a great entry level EV for North America.
Yeah, and so I see what I did wrong. I jumped through the numbers without reading the text. So they're
Uh-oh.
expecting 2 and 3 year old EC3s to be selling for under 20,000. But yeah, new is 23,000 euros. It's available in where are the markets? France will be available in France, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, Austria, Portugal, Poland, Italy, and Spain. So
Say that 3 times fast.
France, Germany, no, the
I can't even do one.
a few of the largest EV markets in Europe: France, Germany, and Netherlands. Belgium, I guess, is sort of just included there, and then some of the markets that rely more on cheaper models. So Portugal, Poland, Italy, and Spain, they're much less lower EV adoption rates and much more reliant on cheaper automobiles. So this should be a big boost for those markets. And if you look at the specs, I mean, this is I think the sweet spot for an average non-rich, non-super rich, buyer. I mean, there's still, if you're buying a new car, you're rich, globally speak. But 200 miles,
accurate.
200 miles range, 300 kilometers of range. I think that's the sweet spot for a lot of people. If especially even if you take long road trips, you might be in a it's common that you would have 2 cars if you're taking long road trips to the Alps or whatever, So it's like, yeah, I just think it's got sort of 100 kilowatt fast charging. That's fast enough. Doesn't have to be 550 like the Leap Mega. LFP battery.
No, but that's a really good point. Like, it doesn't have to be super insane.
There's the LFP battery we're talking about. 11 seconds to 60. That's slow as heck, but gets the job done.
Gets the job done, man. And again, you're talking about a car that, like, 11 seconds to 60 is not.
It's fine.
It's fine. It gets to 60. You'll be fine.
It will still have instant torque, which I think is the big bonus.
Yeah, it'll still get out and pass quickly enough. It'll still get up to speed super easy. So yeah, for sure. This is interesting. This kind of goes hand in hand with this. It's the same vehicle.
Yeah, it's the same vehicle, different take on it. And this is where I saw 20,000. So this is where I saw 20,000.
Yeah, so there's a 200-kilometer range version and a 320-kilometer range version. So 2025 will have the short range version with a smaller battery that is somehow related to this deal that they're doing with.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And look inside. I mean, come on, it's nothing crazy fancy, but it's got what you need.
It's got what you need.
I like the size of it, especially for Europe. Like, I do not want a big car in Europe. I hate driving. I want the smallest car possible in Europe. Like,
didn't you have a Model S in Europe?
Oh, it was horrible. It got rims torn up. It's
the largest car I could afford.
Oh man. And I parked it. Yeah, I had a parking space in between 3 walls because we had a parking garage in our neighborhood where you get to pick your space when you buy the new home. And I picked the one surrounded by 3 walls with the hope that, because there was no electricity outlets, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna be able to put an electricity outlet in, it's gonna be right there in that one spot that's surrounded by 3 walls, and then I don't have to worry about other cars hitting the doors too. And then to park that beast, oh my gosh, I had to do extreme yoga to get out of the car every time. I had to, because I'm trapped in this concrete box, just barely fitting the car into the space and then having to barely open the door to squeeze myself out and get out of the spot. But yeah, I have nightmares about it still.
I like how it says easy electric on thing.
Yeah.
This is really cool. So
this is the same family.
This is the same thing. This is another Stellantis product in Europe. They've announced pricing on this. This is called the E308. It's a Peugeot model, but this is a vehicle, again, 44,000 euros. So we'll call it about 40, 45 grand in terms of US dollars. I really think this could be a Chrysler with just swap the badge on the hood, on the nose of the car and the grill. And this would make for a really nice Chrysler. This could slot in right underneath the Chrysler Pacifica minivan and still be that like 7-passenger family hauler with like a little bit of luxury. And now that we're looking at a replacement for the Chrysler 300, which is a absolutely ancient platform that first debuted in the early 90s as the 210 Mercedes-Benz. Something like this would be a really thoroughly modern sedan and wagon for those guys. I think the dealers would do a great job selling the stateside. And I think if nothing else, this would be a prediction of like, I think this is going to be, the new Chrysler, whatever they call it, the Airflow, the Airstream. It's going to look just like this. It's going to be based on this, and it's going to sit right in that $40,000 to $45,000 base price.
Yeah, so this has sold pretty well in Europe, the E308 and the E208, especially in France. But this is like an updated version, so everything should get a boost in sales again. You got the station wagon version as well. I don't know. I'm just curious more to hear you talk about how it works with Stellantis. Are they really doing much to transfer?
They're going to have to, right? Because the whole point of that merger of FCA, which was Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and the French PSA group, that merger that created Stellantis, was all about establishing economies of scale so that these two companies could more effectively compete on a global stage, right? Chrysler was not, especially the US brands were not getting the product love and attention that they needed in order to continue to stay market competitive. At least that was the narrative at the time. And, Jeep had invested an absolute gobsmacking amount of money to move up market with the Grand Wagoneer, the updated Grand Cherokee, vehicles like the, what is that Wrangler fake pickup truck thing? That thing. And, the Wrangler itself that had always been a very bare bones, low price kind of college kid vehicle. They cranked that up, moved that way up market to now you're buying Wrangler. You're spending 50, 60 grand on a Wrangler, which is absolutely ridiculous. So the market did not respond to that in the way that Jeep had anticipated. Jeep kind of thought, or FCA seems to have thought, that Jeep was a premium brand name that could effectively compete with Mercedes-Benz and BMW and things like that on a global scale. And that didn't really seem to be the case. There's a lot of those Jeeps are still sitting on dealer lots. They had one of the highest, days of inventory of any company, meaning that the dealers had 100-day supply of Jeep Compasses when other cars you couldn't get at all. When the Toyota and Honda stores had like 11 cars on the lot and they were all hot pink Accords or something. So it wasn't going well for them. So when they did this merger, the idea always was that we would be able to get some of these PSA models, would be able to drive down the economies of scale and serve as the platform for more Chrysler and Fiat branded vehicles. And the product pairings were pretty good in the sense that there were no direct competitors from FCA and Stellantis versus the PSA group. So a lot of that could be slotted over relatively seamlessly with badge engineering. So we're definitely going to see some of that. It may still be too early because we are still early days of Stellantis. We have yet to see a wholly, entirely new product from Stellantis. Even the Alfa Tonale and the Dodge Hornet were still from the FCA days. But this has to be the way they go. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to have done this merger in the first place.
Yeah, it was always always a bit of a strange one, right? So
It was always a bit of a strange one, absolutely.
they have a kind of cash for clunkers program there where you get 7,000 euros if you trade in an old car, or sorry, yeah, fourth, yeah. So you can get this for pretty cheap there, but yeah, I'm curious to see. I don't know. I have to say I'm just skeptical that they're gonna partner much, that they're gonna transfer much of this to the US and these US brands. But
I mean, how
I
let's
wish they
assume they
would.
don't. Let's assume that they don't. Why did they merge?
To somehow save to do some fuzzy math and save themselves. I don't know.
To do some aura funky cat mathematics?
Yeah. So going back to this one, there is also an interesting thing we just skipped over here, which is that Stellantis has also gone into a significant partnership with Leapmotor, which is a Chinese new energy vehicle OEM, and they say this is an industry first for global EV relationship between a leading automaker, which I guess is Stellantis, and a Chinese pure play new energy vehicle company automaker. So it's a 51-49 joint venture, and it seems like there's the intention to sell vehicles outside of China from Leapmotor through Stellantis, which, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Stellantis has like 500 other brands. Why not add another one?
Why not add 16 more, right?
Yeah.
But then, I mean, is that Carlos Tavares in that picture? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think so.
God, he's such a creep show, isn't he? He is like just the worst. Like, I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but like that's what a cover is for. And he just looks awful.
Well,
like I can't imagine anybody wanting to do business with this guy.
I don't know. I'm not laughing out of
No,
agreement
but like when you
necessarily.
say,
I was just shocked, but I don't really know. I just look at him and I'm like, shouldn't that guy be retired?
I mean, shouldn't that guy be like skinning babies in like some kind of African warlord country? Like, this is not a good guy.
Yeah,
this is the kind of guy that like when
you're
you
getting
watch, when
canceled.
you like read Heart of Darkness, you know, and they're talking about like going up the river and the warlord is there and he's got like the monkey heads and stuff. It's Tavares. You don't even have to change his name. You just say, I am here to see Tavares. And like the guy moves the spears out of the way and you walk in and he's in like the humid hut. Dude, oh, this guy's just not a good guy.
We better move on before we get
Look, if you're listening to this wondering, like, are these guys just corporate shills? Are they just doing this for the sponsorship money? Just play this video back.
Yeah,
That'll answer your question. Let's go back. Let's go back to the previous screen and we'll wrap it up from there and be like,
okay.
Well, we didn't talk about anything at all. We did not go on some crazy morbid segue there for 20 minutes and ruin our positive episode. Ignore the editing. We're here now. Thanks for watching. We're excited to see some new products come to Stellantis. See you next week, boys.
Yeah, we didn't just get depressed on a side tangent on a final story we threw in that we really don't want to revisit it.
You guys don't even want to know.
We'll surely come back to the topics and have a hopefully better conversation. In the
you know
future.
what it was? It was Tavares's like ghoulish, evil smile that took us down that negative road.
I feel like we might have to clip that too. I don't know.
We're gonna have to clip that too. Peace.
All right. Peace.
That turned out okay, actually.
Hi, my name is Scott Cooney. I started Clean Technica to promote clean energy and other sustainable alternatives, and for 13 years we've been moving markets. If we had a nickel for every time someone told us they bought their first EV, solar, e-bike, or fill in the blank clean energy solution, we'd be a cable TV channel by now. But we don't get those nickels. So unfortunately, we could use your help to reach a few more people. If just 1% of our audience chipped in a few bucks a month, we could hire dozens of great journalists and promote all sorts of climate solutions. It's easy. Just go to cleantechnica.com/support and sign up with a credit card in seconds. Cancel anytime. But we'll be sending out some cool perks too, so I think you'll want to stick around. With your support, we'll keep leading the charge. Thank you so much.